Dun, 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 dun. Welcome back, Nerfherders. It's time for the nap. We are here off of well, I mean, I guess not fresh off of San Diego Comic-Con. There's been a little bit of time, but we're here. We're here to talk about it. We're here to go through. You know what? After a certain point, you just can't avoid spoilers on certain things, and that time is now. And I am also caught up on Miss Marvel. Fairly well behind, and then we've got a whole mess of other stuff to talk about, so we'll dive right into it. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing, man. I'm still a little tired from my trip. I spent the weekend in Colorado for a family wedding, and I've been doing a lot of traveling over COVID, and I had yet to be hit by any of the cancellations or whatnot. And it was like the hardest thing to fly home from Denver. They several other flights were canceled, except for ours. And I was like, well, at least ours isn't canceled. And then ours got delayed 3 times. So we went from getting to the airport 2 hours early with enough time to have dinner and then board to being at the airport for 8 hours and then getting on the plane only to find out that the captain was timed out for the day. So we had to wait an additional 45 minutes on the plane for them to find another captain. And we were supposed to get home at like 10 p.m. We got home at 2:30 a.m. And it's just a long day. So still kind of recovering from that. Not to mention it's been hot as hell. Like it was warm in Denver, but Denver wasn't as humid as Omaha is, and
always
this weather. It was like welcoming back with open heat, humid arms, and I was not about that today. But
my favorite part of going back to Colorado every single time is just how much drier it is compared to here. And yeah.
And we had an outdoor wedding, and I was concerned, but it was fine. So, yeah. Anyway,
well,
how about you? How was your weekend?
I didn't do much. I got out on the motorcycle for a little bit. That was nice. I was able to get some outdoors time. I did like a 5-mile walk over one of those days. I can't remember which one. Like I'm gearing up for some pretty long marathon walks, and I'll be discussing that journey once it happens. But like I'm trying to get going for some like really big, like long runs. So I've been doing a lot of conditioning for that. Other than that, it was pretty boring. Like I was looking into some stuff. I was rewatching some old stuff, which I shouldn't be doing. I've got a laundry list of new shit that I should be watching, but it was a nice, like, considering last weekend was my on-call weekend and I got called and I just kept on getting called out. This was a lot nicer to be able to breathe a little bit.
Well, I saw you had time to do an Andor trailer reaction last night. That was, if you haven't seen Seth's reaction, go check it out. It was a great reaction. Great trailer. Holy crap, it's a great trailer. I mean, I keep on saying this. It looks like they've put more money into it than the previous Disney Plus projects. And either they're just picking the absolute best shots for the trailer, or this is going to be one of the best looking Star Wars series. And it felt like a movie. And I'm not going to lie, even in the trailer, it felt like it had better writing than most of the stuff we've had so far, because it's written by, the same people that wrote Rogue One, which was a hell of a good film. I mean, probably universally the best loved Disney Star Wars film since Disney bought Star Wars. Like, I mean, I think it's the
probably
least
the
controversial
only one. Probably the only one that Disney has been involved in that was
that people universally love.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you watch my trailer reaction, if you watched any of our trailer reactions, you'll know that something that I have to say quite a bit is that I didn't look into the behind the scenes on this. I didn't look into this. No, like I'm getting a little bit of I'm a little tired of parroting that every single time I have to talk about new content, and so I am going to start dipping in a little bit more. I'm still gonna try and like if I see something about leaks or something like that, I'm gonna stay away from crap like that. But like anything that was like officially released that the filmmakers and the companies are okay with people finding out ahead of time, like I'm good with that. One of those things was that they didn't use the volume for the show at all.
At all, really? I thought they did use part of it. I know they used a lot of sets, but they didn't use it at all. Huh?
It's possible that they used it in a little bit as part of like reshoots or for something else. But like the actual filmmakers who were also part of Rogue One said that they were. I think the quote was that they were old school and they wanted to stick with practical effect. It was like, honestly, with the way Rogue One looked, fuck it, let them do what the hell they want. Like the way Rogue One looked, let them stick to it. Like their blend of CGI with miniatures and practical sets and all that stuff, like that's perfectly fine. Please do that. Please keep that up. I'm good with that. But to find out that they didn't really use the volume, that was I really liked that. Like I like that like it's a great new piece of technology. We've seen some really awesome stuff done with it so far. But I sure as shit don't want it to become a crutch or something like that. Because there has to be competition. Like you have to, like, if they can still do it like amazingly well without the volume, that's gonna push people to make that even a better medium. And
and yeah, I think it's the volume is great, but it's not perfect. I think there are times when you could tell it's better than green screen, it's better than blue screen, but you could tell sometimes, like I think people could tell in Thor and people could tell in spots of Obi-Wan when they were using it just by the constraints of it, and having full-on sets and filming on location, you don't have as many constraints. So yeah, I thought that trailer looked amazing. I thought the dialogue was stupendous. I'm excited for all the characters. I'm excited that Mon Mothma is becoming such a more expanded character. I think everybody was so happy to see her in Rogue One, and now we're seeing like not necessarily her origins, but how she, where she was before, and I think it just looks great. It looks like one hell of a cast for sure.
I just realized my coaster is the Rebel Alliance symbol right now. How fitting. I've got a few of those actually. I got the Jedi one hanging out over here too.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to be as optimistic as I used to be to see new Star Wars content. Like I remember when the trailer dropped for Force Awakens, and I was stoked. I was out of my mind excited. And then I went through the movie, and I actually I walked out of the Force Awakens okay. Like I wasn't upset with Force Awakens like a lot of people were. It's certainly not as good as it could have been, but like there could have been, it could have gone far worse. But then I remember walking out of Rogue One, like I remember when the credits rolled, and I sat there just listening to the music, and I was in tears because I was because it was hot off of that Darth Vader moment, and then right into seeing Leia again. This would have been, yeah, it was incredible. Sorry, I just got a notification for something that I need to fix super fast, so I'm going to adjust that. But it was it was nice to because this felt very Rogue One-ish, which makes sense. It was made by the same people, and so the excitement,
pretty much the prequel to Rogue One,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So the excitement is there.
But it does look more than just a prequel to Rogue One. I think a lot of people were like, oh, okay, we're going to get a little more, expansion on these characters, but that's clearly not the direction they're going. This is more than just Cassian Andor's story. Or wait, that's not his name. Cassian, or is it? What's his name? Cassian
Andor.
Yeah, that is his name.
Yeah. Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, I was like, wait, am I saying that wrong? It's got a lot more characters. I think one of the exciting things about this show is that it will more than likely, not have two things that are huge crutches for Disney Star Wars. Okay, one thing is lightsabers. I would not be surprised if we don't see a single lightsaber in this show.
Honestly, we shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't see one in Rogue One with the exception of the Vader hallway scene, and that was a great scene, but the movie didn't need a lightsaber, so I don't think we'll see it in this. And two, God willing, we won't see Tatooine or any similar sand planet. I am fucking done with sand in Star Wars, and this looks like it has a lot of other locations. The locations of this looks great. And I laughed at myself how much I didn't care about the Senate scenes in the prequel series when I was growing up, and how I saw the Senate in this, and I'm like, yes, let's get back to the Senate. So I'm all about it.
Dude, there was one of the opening lines for Grand Moff Tarkin in A New Hope is talking about how the Galactic Senate is finally like dissolved. Like they finally dealt away with it. And so I think over the course of this show, we're going to see like those effects, or we're going to see kind of like the catalyst to what that line actually meant and how they're just getting rid of that level of the government completely. There was another planet, like there was a moment where they were on a trash planet, and I saw a platform ship that looked very similar to what we saw on Braca in Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And like they keep teasing certain elements like that Fallen Order opened up, and it makes me wonder just how canon that actually is. We saw the BD droid in Boba Fett. We're seeing Braca here. Yeah, those are they're the tiniest little hints, but you never know. And Cameron Monaghan has said before, I was like, he would have absolutely no problem jumping into a live action role playing as Cal Kestis, which yeah, I wouldn't blame him in the slightest. And I imagine that that's still not going to happen in this show. If anything, it might be a nod because he does have a bit of a relationship with Saw Gerrera as a result of that game. But they've got another game coming out, so like they don't want to do anything with his character just yet until we actually can like figure out what's actually in line with that.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of interesting pieces of Star Wars media that's coming out now that has absolutely nothing to do with, I wouldn't say nothing to do, but like the Skywalker saga is not involved. And it's like even the behind the scenes side, like with Rogue Ones, like, I mean, that was a pretty big risk, killing off every single main character that you have, but ultimately you made one of the best Star Wars films in the last few decades. Like, yeah, like that's or Star Wars media of the last few decades. Now, this is going to be, I mean, I guess technically this is what the third IP of shows that are actually coming out now. If you maybe even the second, because I don't know if Boba Fett is going to count as its own separate entity. It was like it almost seemed like it was kind of like merged with Mandalorian. So you've got Boba Fett and Mandalorian, and let's put Mandalorian up at the top there. And then we've had Obi-Wan, which had its disappointments, but it had its upsides at the same time. And now we got Andor coming out, and again, we're still kind of playing inside this weird realm, either before or after the events of the original trilogy. And
but it seems to be the sweet spot. It seems to be because it's safe. I get it, because it's safe and it's nostalgic, but when done correctly, it works. When done incorrectly, like I would say Boba Fett is an example of done incorrectly. When you have a bunch of teenagers riding around on souped up, senior speed bikes, and looking ridiculous,
the Vespa gang,
like Spy Kids. Stupid. It just looked dumb. But Rogue One proved that you can have a compelling story in this little pocket that people kind of know what happened, but we haven't really explored too much. That middle pocket between the prequels and New Hope. And I think taking that crew to do this, months ago when they announced all the upcoming Star Wars show, people have known that Andor was coming for a while, but I don't think anybody thought that it was going to be that high up on their list when compared to Boba Fett was coming out, Obi-Wan was coming out, Ahsoka was coming out, Mandalorian 3 was coming out. And a lot of people have been asking all summer, and there's been leaks back and forth of the Ahsoka trailer and the Mando 3 trailer, where, and right now, and especially coming off of Obi-Wan, which I think we liked for the most part, but it did have some stuff that wasn't that great about it. Having seen this trailer for Andor, I'm like, give it. Like, I am all about this. I don't care if we see a trailer for Ahsoka or Mando 3 until after this show. This is just everything. Like, it looks amazing, and I'm all about it, and I'm almost embarrassed that I didn't have this as much on my radar or higher up in my anticipation for the year as it should have been, because it's clearly like unless they just cut together an amazing trailer and it's not reflective of the show at all, this looks like it's going to be possibly the best Star Wars show we've ever gotten. And then, Mando can probably come back and reclaim that with its third season, but it looks amazing. And the fact that we know that it's going to be 12 episodes and that they've already confirmed a second season of 12 episodes with this crew behind it and this amazing cast. Because if you look at that trailer, there's multiple stories going on. 12 episodes seems
over a lot of time too, it seems.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like we're covering a really long period.
Right. So 12 episodes seems like a good time to cover those stories. 2 seasons already being greenlit means they have faith in the stories. That gives a lot of confidence my way, and I'm really excited about that. So, yeah, I can't wait for that. I know we didn't really plan to talk about this at the beginning of the show, but I had to voice that.
We don't have much of a plan when we put the show together in the first place. So I think it works out pretty well. Just out of everything coming out of SDCC, so like San Diego Comic-Con actually brought quite a bit of stuff for Star Wars as well, and we're only just now seeing bits and pieces of it. People who went to San Diego Comic-Con apparently saw some Ahsoka footage. I guess they had a trailer for Ahsoka.
They had a Mando 3 trailer, and those have leaked online in parts, but they're not very great. Camera work.
We're probably gonna, like, when did Andor release? When was that coming out?
September 21st.
When's
D23?
D23 schedule September 9th through the 11th.
Okay.
So yeah, capping on, like, I imagine that there'll be some extra trailers that'll be shown there, and then the entire time for some other shows, and then the entire time people are watching Andor, they're gonna be like, okay, who's showing up from these other shows? Where's the cameo gonna be, or something like that? Because if there is gonna be cameos, I mean, this show has the potential to be absolutely rife with them. I mean, with
or not. I mean, they've already shown Saw Gerrera. He would have been cameo, but I mean, they've already shown him in the trailer, so that's no longer a cameo.
Saw Gerrera made the most sense, like, because there's a story that was obviously there from Rogue One that we didn't really get to see. But I think we're going to see some stuff from Rebels, the animated series, to try and tie stuff like that in. Where at in the timeline, who knows? I would also expect to see Tamara Morrison pop in there again, if anything. And like, out of all of these shows that are coming out, maybe not even Andor, we'll just see. It's like, it would be interesting to see some clones that did like have kind of like that continued storyline. It would be really nice for them to have continued that. There's a
theory that I've seen.
That scene that just showed up there, though, that one there, like, there's something about this shot. Go ahead and pause this right here.
Okay.
It's like,
go ahead.
There's something about this shot here that just makes it feel like it's not to scale. Like that Star Destroyer seems like it should be a lot bigger, and I don't know. That's just something that kind of irked me a little bit.
Pull this up on Star Wars. Yeah. Nope, that's not good. I want the new one. I like doing the official
I don't even
YouTube.
think I saw. I don't even think I saw that teaser trailer.
Oh, the teaser trailer was great. That was a couple months ago though, but I know you were talking about the blurring around that.
That's actually. I don't know if that's in post. I think that might even be lens correctors.
I don't know. That
depending on the
could
lens
be
they're
in
using.
scale. It could be one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, that's another thing that doesn't get mentioned. Is there's several different classes of Star Destroyer, and like they do a terrible job of explaining that.
Talking about some cameos though, where is this? I know you thought for a second. I thought the same thing, that this guy was.
You thought that was Sam
wait a
Witwer?
yeah,
Dude, fucking looks so much like him. It was like
they had
fucked
to
with his
purposely
face.
cast him in there just to fuck with us. Like, oh wait, nope, that's not him. I've seen that actor around a lot. Look at these set pieces though, and these locations. She looks menacing. But there's one gal in here that I've seen a theory for, and where is it at? Where is it at? Since we're talking a lot about the Senate, we could possibly get Leia's parents back in this show. You know, possibly having a cameo. We don't know who she is, but then there's this chick. There's a theory
that we might see Jimmy Smits show up in this show at some point. It's part of like the Senate meetings and all that shit.
I could see that. There's a theory that this is Leia. I don't think it is, but she kind of looks like it. I don't know.
She could be, I guess.
You know, I mean, when you look at her right there, she kind of go back. Could be. I don't know, because this would be what? This would be a few years before A New Hope, potentially.
Well, again, we don't know because the show seems to cover like a pretty wide time span. So like we don't know when this one actually.
So who knows? I doubt that's Leia, but that would be cool. I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. It looks.
It would make sense, but I wouldn't want her to be like super heavily involved.
I wouldn't want that either. I wouldn't want that either. But it does look fantastic. Look, guys, there's planets with people that don't have sand. Like there's, vegetation exists in Star Wars. So that's good. I'm just so done with sand. I'm so done with sand.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, can we move on? I think we got some other stuff to talk about. Are you good over there?
I'm running a server for something, and unfortunately the people who I have using it are not able to access it, and so it's just giving me I'm getting blown up on my phone saying, hey, we can't get into this right now, we're trying to do this. I'm like, oh well, you can fucking sit tight then.
Well, I will move on to the next topic here.
Yeah,
so we can keep this show going. So it was announced today that the upcoming Batgirl movie, which is 90% finished, it's been fully filmed, it's just it's in editing, it's 90% edited, has been completely scrapped.
Jesus Christ.
Like earlier this year, originally this was just coming to HBO Max. Then they said, actually, it's been getting a lot of praise, especially with Michael Keaton's role, which we've seen this cool picture, behind the scenes picture come out. But they said, actually, it's likely going to have a theatrical run now because we're so into it. Well, today it's officially come out that it will not be in theaters or on HBO Max. It's completely scrapped, which is bizarre. That a 90% film, a done film, is just being nixed. I mean, I guess if you're looking at it from, the new owners of the WB, they, I could see, I can't remember his name, but the guy that's running it for Discovery, I could see him not wanting a project like this being held over his head, because if it turns out to be great, it's a win for his predecessor. If it turns out to be terrible, it's a loss for him, so maybe he's the one that axed it, but it's not coming out, which is crazy. What do you think about this?
Well, whenever there's a regime change or something like that, like, honestly, like I'm kind of getting tired of hearing about all the chaos going on with DC Project. It's like, just get your shit together. Like,
well, supposedly the buyout was supposed to be the start of that, the start of them getting their shit together.
yeah, that was supposed to be. But we didn't really. I mean, I didn't really see anything involved with. Like I didn't see anything that kind of like gave me an indication that I was going to have hope that they were going to actually start organizing things over there. Honestly, it just sounded like a power and money grab, really. Which is what it absolutely turned out to be. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm kind of like, I'm at a point where it's just like, I can't really be surprised, I guess, is really what it comes down to, because we've got a bunch of drama going on with Flash as well. You're not really sure how that's going to go. Like you were just, yeah. And I honestly, I didn't know too much about the Batgirl movie in the first place.
Well, let me tell you about it.
I wasn't following it too close because it sounded like they were having a bunch of production issues. So
I heard a lot of good things about it, honestly. I'm reading from Variety here. It said the production starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon, directed by Miss Marvel filmmakers Adil Arbi and Balafla. Sorry, I probably butchered those really bad. Was greenlit in 2021 as part of a company-wide effort at Warner Brothers to create feature films specifically for HBO Max. And then, like I said, they later said, actually, it's doing so well and looking so good, we might consider it to be a theatrical release as well. But it is kind of, I mean, it's not a small film. They had your lead, Leslie Grace. J.K. Simmons was playing Commissioner Gordon. Michael Keaton was reprising his role as the Batman. Brendan Fraser was playing the villain in the film.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
This is it's a significant cast, and the fact that this film was 90% done, and they're not even going to drop it on us. I imagine in the next few weeks or within the next quarter, we might hear about the end of HBO Max, because the fact that they're not even saying, we'll put it out on HBO Max, that's crazy. That's crazy that a 90% done film wouldn't even be just like, okay, we don't want to spend the money for advertising in theaters, but we'll at least put it on our streaming network. The idea that they're just scrapping it completely just baffles me. Like, it is, especially with Michael Keaton attached to it, it is a little bizarre.
Well, I would be incredibly hesitant to make any leaps from this to HBO Max is going down. Because I mean, specifically, just like I'm in the cable industry, like that's my job, and knowing like how many, like paying attention to that world and seeing how many cable subscribers are dropping and how the influx of streaming services is going to be like the main way that these networks make money. I don't foresee HBO Max going away at all. If HBO Max was to go down, it's because HBO has a different streaming service that's going to like be a conglomerate of all of those together or something like that, with all of like the new properties after that Discovery merger. Like to where HBO Max gets included with Discovery Plus, which is also already exists.
Well, this is on that note. So Grace Randolph, she runs Beyond the Trailer, and she usually is pretty in the know. When she posts a rumor officially, that means she's backed it up with a couple things. She just tweeted today, okay, here's the rumor regarding the Warner Brothers Discovery presentation coming up on Thursday. HBO Max will be folded into Discovery Plus, not vice versa. Getting rid of HBO Max scripted, overall streaming focused on unscripted. HBO stays as is as a premium cable channel. HBO Max originals, if they stick around, will become HBO shows. We'll find out specifics on Thursday. So HBO Max could be going away. HBO could stick around, but HBO Max, it sounds like, could potentially be folded into a Discovery streaming service.
Like I said, be folded into where that is part of a conglomeration of all that stuff there. And so all that content's still going to be available. It's just going to be a different platform.
Yeah.
And which will also probably take a few months.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point, I don't really care because I actually get HBO Max for free as a part of being a part of the cable industry. I get, like, as an employee, I get certain services without cost, and HBO Max happened to be attached to that. So,
well, I'm sad about this because I was kind of excited. I was excited about this show.
Like, I mean, the movie, yeah, like it's always a shame when a project that they've been working on for who knows how long at this point, like who knows when it's like pre-production and script writing takes fucking forever. Like, yeah, that's certainly unfortunate, but at the same time, like I'm just even hearing about that to where the rumor right now is that HBO Max is going to fold into Discovery Plus, and that's all going to be it's just absolute madness over there. And all of this backroom company bullshit is just affecting the creative side. It's like just the tossing around, the changing of hands of who actually owns these properties is like just so they can say that they're theirs rather than like actually just like I'm not advocating that anybody release their rights or anything like that so anybody can make content about it. It would be a great thing to see. But at the same time, like with all the corporate maligning and the crap that's been going on with all this shit, like I can't be surprised at all anymore.
Well, I would be pissed and I would understand if Michael Keaton is pissed because this isn't just about this. We're going into our next story, which is also about Michael Keaton. Aquaman star Jason Momoa recently revealed that Ben Affleck was on set filming some stuff for Aquaman 2. Basically, because they pushed back The Flash and switched the dates flip the dates for Aquaman 2 and The Flash, Michael Keaton was supposed to be in Aquaman 2 as well because of his role as The Flash. So basically, he was coming out in The Flash, then he was going to have a role in Aquaman 2 and in Batgirl. Because they pushed The Flash out, they decided to bring back Ben Affleck to film the scenes of Batman in Aquaman 2, replacing the scenes that Keaton filmed. So not only is Keaton getting removed from Aquaman 2, but his other movie, Batgirl, is getting completely scrapped. So now he's only coming out in The Flash, which is already drowning in controversy and craziness. I would be pissed if I was him because a year and a half ago, everybody was like, holy shit, Michael Keaton is coming back. And now 2 of the 3 projects he was attached to for DC, he's no longer a part of, which is crazy. I would be so pissed.
Well, if he had a contract out that he got paid already, he might not give a shit.
Sure.
He got
got
his money already, but like,
I'm sure he's getting his money. But yeah,
and it could be money related. Like it could straight up be that they don't want, like they're arguing about all that. Like that's the kind of crap that I can't. I can't be surprised by anymore.
Well,
also, I'm not really. Also, I really don't care about Ben Affleck as Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, I mean, he did a good job, but at the same time, I'm just like, well, if I don't get any more of them, I don't really care. Like we've got another Batman already. Like we've got another Batman already. And it's like, well,
but not as far as the Justice League. And the Flash was supposed to be a handoff of sorts between Affleck and Keaton, bringing Keaton back into the thing and removing Ben. But Ben is a part of the Flash movie as well. So the fact that we're getting a little more of him in Aquaman, I'll always take more Batfleck. I loved him as Batman. But for those thinking that this is the resurgence of the Snyderverse, it's not. It's been more than confirmed that the Snyderverse is being fizzled out, and we're not getting more Ben Affleck Batman films. But thankfully, I think it's kind of cool that he was willing to come back and help transition, So that's cool.
That could play into why my interest level my interest in the DC universe as it exists or as it existed had already peaked when we finally got the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
When that finally came out and we finally got to see what the vision was, and it was even more than what we were hoping it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that was what they had on the table, and they said no, I can't. That would be like if we found out that there was a Thor: Love and Thunder cut that was on par with that was on par with the Winter Soldier. Like it was on par with Captain America 2. Like that was what the Thor: Love and Thunder was originally at. And then the version that we got was the one that they were like, this is the one that we're actually going to back because this is how we feel about this, because this is going to make us more money because it's got more comedy and more bullshit in it. That's what it would have been like. That's like the Marvel equivalent to me.
Sure.
Like if they had done Avengers, if they had done Infinity War and Endgame dirty like they did to Zack Snyder, like then I mean I would have been feeling the same way on the Marvel side of things, and then my interest would have peaked prior to that property.
Sure. We have this comment here. Maybe they want to erase Michael Keaton from this universe and use Ben Affleck instead. Maybe having Affleck, Keaton, and Pattinson in the DC universe is too much. Well, that it's been confirmed that they're not erasing Keaton and replacing him with Affleck. They're just they're needing Affleck to come back to smooth the transition. So,
it's even worse. Like
Flash,
they had Keaton erased already. Like they hadn't dipped back into that universe at all with any of their content.
They brought him back for 3 projects. So
they brought him back in pre-production and rumors. Like, did we even see footage? I mean, I'm not looking at leaks, but like I didn't see anything that would indicate that Keaton was like full on back in and what they're.
Well, he's a major part of the Flash movie, and he was a major part. I mean, we had this picture from his part in Batgirl. So Batgirl wasn't necessarily Batman Beyond, but it was a mentorship film between him and Batgirl. So he was supposed to be a major part of that. But no, and they could be phasing Michael Keaton out at this point. But now with the merger,
which would be absolutely unfortunate. Like, finish what you start, you know?
I think
like that's kind of it's a good way to live.
What's unfortunate is that this merger didn't happen a while back, because honestly, once the MCU started really catching its steam after, going full-fledged in that Infinity Stones saga, after they got out of the gate with those first, origin films and then just started really, full steam ahead, DC films had no chance of catching up. But post Endgame, during Phase 4, DC films could have started over and had this chance, because I think if anybody can agree on anything, it's that Phase 4 was the fuck luster, and DC could have come back, So and maybe they still have time. Who knows how great Phase 5 will be, but
even that concept is reliant on there being a massive amount of competition between DC and Marvel, and there has not been a massive amount of competition. DC has not been able to stand up to what Marvel's been producing.
On every other front. It's just not theatrically.
No. But even still, like even on the comic book front, like that's not a medium where they really have to worry about being at each other's throats all the time, because like that's something that people can dip into both sides of it very easily and flow smoothly.
Well, I hope that the folks over at Discovery don't decide to just axe DC completely, because it's still a gem if they just get the right people on it. And as long as those right people, they're not concerned about catching up to the MCU, they're just concerned about quality. I don't think anybody, there's always going to be the people that like, oh, the MCU is 27 films at this point, and DC only has blah blah. It's not about that anymore. It's about quality. And I think even people can admit that the MCU has faltered in quality as of late. Doesn't mean they can't find their stride again. But DC doesn't need to worry about catching up with them. They just need to worry about getting their shit together.
I think what we're seeing evidence of, and people keep talking about this, we keep bringing this up, is that whenever you have a franchise that's this big, or it needs to be, or it has the scale to be something as big as what the MCU or the MCU is, or what the DC universe could end up being, like you have a man at the helm, like you have a man or woman, whatever, however you want to put it, like. Gender isn't really regarded in here. That's not what I meant, but
you've got a point.
Like
person.
you've got Kevin Feige. You've got a singular mind, or two people as far as Star Wars is concerned, with Dave Filoni, and oh man, why am I spacing on his name now?
Best quote. Put it on a shirt.
Needs to get their shit together. There you go. Jon Favreau. When you've got Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are kind of like heading up like the future of Star Wars, and the future looking pretty goddamn bright as far as their involvement goes. And then you had Kevin Feige really pushing the buttons behind in the Marvel control room for the longest period of time, and being like, he's like, there needs to be a clear, cohesive plan for how these things are going to go if you're going to create a franchise where you eventually want to do the major team up. And the biggest mistake that DC made was that they tried jumping the gun, and they tried to do the team up like right away and then get into the origin stories for everybody. It's like, first of all, Batman doesn't need an origin story movie ever again. No. Like ever again. Like,
as the Batman is proven.
We have had enough. That does not need to happen. Like,
how nice is that though? Like, how nice is that Spider-Man and Batman are so well known that they don't need origin films anymore. That's kind of interesting, you know, when you really think about it.
If you were to put me in charge of like the DC side of things, I would be scrapping everything that they have currently planned, because it's like, this isn't going to work. We've already run into a bunch of issues. Let's cut our losses and kill it from here. Let's jump into something new. Let's try something different here. Like, I wouldn't.
Blue Beetle is scrapped as well. That just hasn't been official. They were filming that as well. They certainly weren't 90% done with the film though. And maybe they'll keep that because it's so different than what we normally have gotten. But it's just bizarre to me that they scrapped Batgirl.
Let's go New 52 or something like that. Let's fucking let's see a different era of the DC Comics universe. Let's see them doing something completely different. Let's see him go crazy. Let's see him go with some of the, like, what was that comic run where it was like super futuristic? And it was like all the characters were like, it's not Batman Beyond. That's not what I'm thinking of.
Oh, the comic run. It was future something.
Yeah.
I got it.
Somewhere. I'm not as well versed on the DC side of things. That's more your arena, but
it was something Beyond. It was part of the Batman Beyond universe, Brother Eye and Beyond. Yeah, it was. Yeah. They all went into the future, but
we're dealing with like a new realm of stuff like that. Like we need to try something differently, or if they're going to do anything at all, like let's pick up where Christopher Nolan left off, and let's stick with the DC movies that are grounded mostly in reality and not necessarily superhero films, but like are actually like films that fit within the designated genre around like the film that they really wanted to make, that just happens to have Aquaman in it or something like that. Like let's take from that method of themes. And then, exactly, Jeffrey Miller. We'll know by Thursday what will be scrapped.
And we'll be back next week to talk about it. We won't wait 2 weeks to talk about it, but
we'll jump right in there.
Before we get to our main topics, jumping over to Marvel a little bit, we finally made it to August, which means Spider-Man Remastered on PC is coming out on August 12th. I'm so excited. And I wanted
seemingly tiny news if you're watching this right now. Like this doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but Josh hasn't gotten to experience this game.
I know.
Like, so this is a big thing.
Because I don't have a PlayStation. I haven't had a PlayStation since PS2 when I was in the military.
We tossed around the idea of me just bringing you a console so you could play this game out so many different times. Couldn't schedule it. Didn't get really past just mentioning it. And then lo and behold, like, what was it? It was like 2 months ago. We had a show where I was talking about how fucking, dude, I was chomping at the bit. Like I was going to bust out my console again. I was going to play through the game again. And then lo and behold, there's an announcement that they're releasing it for PC and they're doing it remastered, which is even better. Like that's the port that they did for God of War. Like if they're taking, I understand they're taking their time. And as we can see here on screen, we've got quite a few changes that are coming up here.
Now, how do I look
I'm
at my
stoked for 'em.
specs? How do I look at my specs to see how I compare to this?
You know, the easiest way that I've always found, like, you have Steam installed, don't you?
I did at one point. Do I still have it?
It's like,
because they have a thing that reads your specs, don't they?
yeah. You can also go into CMD and you can just type system info.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it on screen.
I'm not going to.
Don't do it on screen or anything
do it
like
on
that.
my other screen.
But you can hit system info and that'll give you some
just system info. Just spell it out. System info.
Yeah, system info, no space.
Okay.
Just go into CMD and type system info, and that'll give you some information. Like I did it on mine now. I've got 32 gigs of RAM sitting in here. 64 base. Like your system type is going to tell you if you got a 64-bit processor or 64-bit operating system. I've got a 12-core processor running at 3.2 megahertz.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, 64 based PC. What is Intel 64 family 6? Well, that's processors.
I like going into Steam because you can go into the system info and it'll pull that stuff out.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I need to do that. But you built this computer and you're fairly confident that I'll be able to play this based on these specs.
I am beyond fairly confident. I'm 100% confident you'll be able to get in there. Now, as far as like ray tracing levels, like I can easily see you playing this in that very high column. Easily. I can see you playing in that very high column. Like and honestly, it depends on, like, I can't even remember the resolution of the monitor that you ended up getting a hold of. I don't know if you're in the 4K world.
I have a 4K monitor and a HD monitor. Yeah.
Being at 4K, hitting 60 frames in that very high catalog, I can absolutely see that. And that still has you above like the recommended phase, which is already going to be better than what you would have seen on the PlayStation. So like I'm very confident that you'd be able to set it up at very high. Like I'm not saying that you're going to be able to pop open and be like, all right, I'm setting this shit to ultra and we're going to go fucking crazy or anything like that. But yeah, I can easily see your PC running 4K at 60 frames per second. Like we put some real beef into that thing, man. Like we didn't fuck around. Like,
I'm excited. I'm downloading Steam. I must have not downloaded it, so I'm downloading it, and I totally forgot what my
there's a whole world of games, and like honestly, like you got to get into God of War as well. God of War, like you could bang through God of War before Spider-Man comes out easily. Like it is a long game, but
I got to do some writing this month. But I will play.
Not like you have a career as an author or anything like that,
right? I will play this game for you, and then when I have time, post New York, I'll come back and play God of War because you've just been begging for that for forever, and I've been letting you down.
I need you to experience that game. I need that out of you. I did a playthrough back when I did a playthrough for Jedi Fallen Order, which was a game that I had already played. You can find that on our YouTube channel right now. And I kind of did commentary when there weren't cutscenes and all that stuff, just kind of like going through my experience with the game. This will be another one where I'll probably do something like that. I absolutely loved the original Spider-Man. I have not played the second one with Miles Morales as your main character yet, and so that will be interesting.
I thought you would have been all over that based on how much you loved the first one.
Unfortunately, that one kind of slipped past me, and by the time I would have been able to get a hold of it, I was already like, well, I don't know, maybe it'll like because I'm gonna buy a PS5. I was just like, I'll just wait for that one because like I'm gonna get a PS5 to play the next God of War when it comes out. I'm not waiting for the PC port on that one. So yeah. But yeah, Spider-Man Remastered. We're looking at a lot of really good stuff in there. I believe you went with an ultra wide monitor, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to have ultra wide support,
Cool.
which is excellent. And just seeing the preview that they did on it was awesome. We've got ray tracing for you big NVIDIA fans. Like I'm pretty stoked for stuff like that.
Cool.
They did. Oh man, where did that setting go? Here, yeah, ray traced reflections and improved shadows, which are like when you're really deep into the video gaming world, not having like crazy high definition shadows and reflections is something that like you don't really miss it when it's not there until you've seen what can actually be done with it. And especially in the world of Spider-Man, where you've got windows everywhere in those buildings and reflections all over the place, tons of dynamic lighting needs and stuff like that. The game already looked great, and the requirements, the minimums, the recommended system requirements still weren't even that crazy. I mean,
yeah,
they're talking in the recommended, just in Steam, they're talking a Core i5, which is 2 generations below what you've already got, a 3.4 gigahertz or AMD Ryzen 1600 3.2 gigahertz processor, which is like you're putting that away already. I believe we gave you 32 gigs of RAM. This is only asking for 16. And then the GTX, we actually got you in the 2000 series, I believe. And they're talking about a 1060 6 gigabytes for the recommended side of things. So like you're in plenty good territory for this to absolutely just destroy. And I'm loving it. And
I just have to make sure. I see it says it requires 75 gigs of SSD. I'll have to make sure I put it on I'm pretty sure I have an SSD.
That's going to be recommended. Solid, like that's just gonna improve your loading times.
Okay.
If anything. Jeffrey Miller, I've never played God of War, but have seen beautiful cutscenes from it. Yeah, Jeff, you've been a watcher for a long time. I might do a playthrough on God of War.
You should
just to give you that experience, like just the story playthrough of God of War, just from my perspective, because like I got the platinum trophy for it, and then I 100%ed it on Steam, and nice. I still started it up again. I adore that game. It's my next tattoo. Like God of War is like, when I have money, like God of War is gonna dominate my left arm here. So,
well, that was our lightning round stuff. I know we want to talk about.
Took an hour, but whatever.
I know we want to talk about a couple highlights of San Diego Comic-Con. We want to talk about the Multiverse Saga, and we want to talk about Miss Marvel, since you just finished that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say, and I mean that in a good way.
Okay, well, you pick which one of those three you want to start off with.
Let's dive into Miss Marvel. That was pretty far behind, and again, I don't have a lot to say. I could only do about 5 minutes here, and we don't even need to bother with no spoilers, because like it's been out like 2 weeks.
It's been out for a minute. Okay, I'll put the spoiler alert.
I mean, I'll like just talking no spoilers, I guess. Like go watch it.
Okay, go watch it.
Go watch it. It was a great show. Like honestly, I was kind of thrown off because I did not see anywhere near the level of marketing for this show that I have for other Marvel properties, and I'm not entirely sure why that was. For every one of their films, every other version of their shows, I saw ads after ads, every social media platform that I was on. It was nuts. Yeah, I can't fathom why they weren't doing that for this, because this show was very charming. It was like there were some great moments in this show. It felt really down to earth for as cosmic of a scheme that they were actually putting together. It was really well written. There was some funky editing in a lot of places where I was kind of like, okay, why that? Like they were jumping around a little bit, and it just didn't really make sense for why they were doing that. It felt like they were it felt like some of the episodes they really had to cut some stuff out, and it really didn't serve the flow of it too well. It kind of threw me. But as a whole, like this came out really, really good, and the implications that it has for the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole were enormous. So I'm shocked that there was not I'm shocked that there was not more information, or that there was not a bigger fucking like uproar about watching this show. And when you get to people who are like like channels like ours, who are people who are rewatching, who are doing reactions, doing full on, like it was like this was part of it, where I was like, hey, this was a big deal for us. Like we're gonna watch this show, and it was packed with a bunch of stuff. Like just in the moment where Bruno's telling her, is like, hey, I found some weird stuff in your genealogy when I was looking at it. There was like a mutation in there, and then we got the little 90s cartoon X-Men trill sound. Like it was like, holy shit. Like I was losing my mind when shit like that happens. Like, okay, we were wondering, like we had no idea how they were going to institute mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We weren't at all sure about how that was going to take place, and we were expecting it in a bigger way, but they're slow rolling it again, like in true Marvel fashion. They're like, hey, we're gonna ease into this. We're not gonna just deep dive right off. We're not gonna jump into the 12-foot end of the pool immediately. It's like we're gonna introduce this to you slowly. It was unfortunate that they did not go the Inhumans route that I knew about her from, because there's some really interesting Inhuman stories that didn't go well, but the show didn't go well. I didn't even watch the show Inhumans. Like there was a lot there. I was just like, this just isn't getting me. Like the trailer wasn't exciting. Like
yeah, I don't think Kevin Feige wants anything to do with Inhumans.
Yeah,
so.
and it seems like that's the route that they're going to stick with. There's a lot of questions about the Marvels movie that's going to be coming out as a part of this, and yeah, it was a great watch. The scale, like at first, my first instinct was like, hey, the scale of this is just too small for what we've been seeing from Marvel lately, and I'm just like, you know what, that makes sense. Like, because at first I was upset about it. It was like the stakes didn't really seem that high for Kamala in this setup. There wasn't really a clear villain. Like they kind of dealt away with they called them Jinn, but the clandestines were sort of dealt away with rather easily.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of sinisterness going on there. There wasn't really a redemption arc or anything that they attempted like they do in other properties. But then we had Damage Control kind of like jumping in there, but it was just a rogue agent, and the rest of the organization seems good with it. But she also didn't really seem to face any consequences other than losing her job. So like the stakes were really low here, but she's a teenager. Like she's a new character. Like her comic run is very young. Like we haven't gotten a lot out of Miss Marvel. So like we're diving into very new territory here. And so they have to be careful, and they're going to have to build her up from scratch. It's looking very much like we're going to see Young Avengers as a part of like the bigger arc of things as we go along. We're seeing a lot of hints towards that. Miss Marvel being another. And then yeah, there was a lot that like it didn't feel quite like the Iron Man of this new phase. Like it didn't feel like she was like actually starting anything other than letting us know that mutants are in existence. But yeah, even with the stakes being as small as they were, like I walked out of watching the show very happy with it. And there were actually some moments where I was almost brought to tears because it was just so beautiful, the way that they'd put it together. So like I got everything that I would have hoped for out of a Marvel show here, except for like a massive amount of scale as far as the effect of the universe, but that isn't necessary for this show. And so I had to come to terms with that at first, but afterwards it's just like, you know what, this was just a good time. Like this is a good watch.
It definitely blew out at the end there for, it's something's coming, I think a lot of people were there was some online confusion in that very last scene as to whether or not she transformed into Miss Marvel, which she has in the comics, or if she somehow was replaced, like switched places with Miss Marvel. And it has been confirmed by the director that it was the latter. She switched places with Miss Marvel,
which is actually also comic accurate to a certain degree with Marvel and Rick something.
So I'm excited to see more of her in the Marvels, I think is the name of the film. And I really liked the actress. I thought she was great. You know,
she did an excellent job.
I think
and I really liked her parents.
They've been nailing the likability of these new actors. Like I liked the gal that played America Chavez, but I didn't think she got as great of a introduction as Miss Marvel did with this show. I think, and they're both examples of the shows kind of changing or cherry picking the power sets of these characters, when in the comics they had so much different or so much more power sets. But I liked what they did with Miss Marvel. I thought it was a charming show.
Yeah, this felt a lot like there were a lot of similarities between this and the Marvel video game, the Avengers video game, which wasn't great, but at the same time, there was actually like it felt very much like playing a comic book game, and I did play through like just sort of the main story, and there was a lot of good there, and she is the main character in that game. And so it felt very similar to the way that played out in a lot of really good ways. And so I was pleased to have that level of familiarity with her, even though I don't have a comic book familiarity with her. It was just a good time. It was just a good time. Like, and that's like I like being able to see a Marvel property right now, especially coming off of Thor. Like this was the next property that I saw after Thor Love and Thunder, which I fucking hated. So like having this be here was very refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. So what would you like to talk about next?
Well, what would you like to talk about next? Because I've been blabbering.
Well, we've been catching up with you for
That's true.
We could talk about San Diego Comic-Con in general. We could talk about Phase 5 and Phase 6. It's up to you. Which one you want to go to first?
Well, I mean, as far as Phase 5 is concerned, like I don't know what I can touch on that hasn't been touched on sort of already. Is like, yes, there's a lot of releases that are coming out here soon, but I mean, we've just gotten like show announcements. And I mean, like I did a trailer reaction for a bunch of trailers that came out of SDCC. I actually did that live, so you can see that in our live archives. I had a bunch of camera issues. I couldn't get it to up and go the way that I wanted to. Like, it was running into battery issues and shit like that too. It was like, and turns out I was the one using it wrong, so that worked out great. Yeah, we've actually, and even with this screen here, we've actually got some stuff still coming out before the end of what they call Phase 4.
Yeah, well, that we had theorized that we were going to be hearing that Phase 4 is wrapping up here, and that was official. Phase 4 will end with
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, which out of as far as San Diego Comic-Con is concerned, the trailer for Wakanda Forever took the cake easily. That trailer was absolutely incredible visually. We're seeing Namor the Submariner, which is great, and they're not going with an Atlantean route or anything like that. Like it was very ancient Aztec, which is very exciting. That we're sticking to the history of the world. Especially after Chadwick Boseman's tragic death, before we could really get any closure with that character. Like, we were still in his infancy as far as the cinematic universe is concerned as it exists today. There was a lot more that we wanted to see, and unfortunately that won't ever be. And so yeah, that trailer was very moving.
It was a good trailer for sure.
And unfortunately, aside from She-Hulk, we're still not seeing She-Hulk, and I mean, I guess the Groot shorts, the I Am Groot shorts, were also part of those trailers that came out. There's still a lot of information that was released at San Diego Comic-Con. There were some trailers that were shown, like the first episode of some of the shows actually had been shown. Like the first episode of the next season of What If was actually there, but What If is actually not being considered a part of like the phases or anything like that. Like that's outside of the universe. It's still canon, but it's outside of. I think like the phrase that I'm hearing a lot of people when they're talking about this is the sacred timeline, which is what we're seeing here.
Sure.
Yeah, there's just there's a lot to look forward to as a Marvel fan, but it's also like there's a lot of cautious optimism from me yet again, as a result of Thor: Love and Thunder, which I really hate because Thor is very near and dear to my heart as far as the comics, my history with Marvel, my cinematic history with Marvel. So we'll see how that goes. And we didn't really hear a whole lot about what we would see out of Thor here in the near future as far as San Diego Comic-Con. So
no. Now, granted, there's a lot of blank space in Phase 6.
A lot of blank space.
But going back to Phase 5, they did show a trailer for Guardians 3, and they officially said they're not putting it out because it's not finished yet, and they don't want people, bitching online about the quality.
There was a lot of stuff that was kind of falling under the same issue, and a lot of it is like also for people who are lucky enough to get into Hall H. So it's like we got to have some exclusives for them, and so and apparently people who went to Hall H were eating pretty goddamn good. So it's really exciting to see what'll be coming next in the very near future.
When I look at this, I am excited about Loki season 3 or season 2. I've seen some set photos for that. That looks fun. Daredevil is apparently 18 episodes. Now, I wouldn't be. Here's my thing about the 18 episodes. Granted, we just heard that Andor is 12 episodes, so we're already ramping up from the normal 6 to 8 that we've been getting, 6 to 9 that we've been getting lately.
We're also getting 3 right off the bat at release for Andor. Right.
But I think that's because it was supposed to come out in August, and they pushed it back to September, so that's why they're giving us 3.
Well, I don't know, man. Like Obi-Wan, it was kind of like we needed those first 2 episodes to really be stoked about that show.
It could be like a 3 episode arc to really get you into it. Daredevil, 18 episodes. I can't imagine. Like people are saying, "Oh my God, we're gonna have 4.5 months of Daredevil." I doubt there'll be 18 weeks of episodes. I'm sure they'll do like some group drops at least. I'm also
there'll be a few right off of the start.
I also doubt they're 18 full hour episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually 9 hours worth of content divided into 18 30-minute episodes, or something to that effect. They also said 18 episodes. They could end up saying, well, actually it's 2 seasons, 9 episodes, and the next season 9 episodes, or something along those lines. So
it's like even the Netflix series was 13.
Yeah, 18 is just a weird number.
Season 1.
It's just a weird number.
Season 2 and 13 again for season 3. So
so either
and even those felt like a little long.
And at least 2 of those seasons had breaks. Like they had a first half arc and a second half arc. It wasn't a 13 episode arc. But yeah, we'll see what that is. It's confirmed that Fisk is coming back for that. It's confirmed that both Fisk and Daredevil will be in Echo. It's confirmed that Daredevil will be in Miss Marvel. It's also confirmed that Daredevil will be in Spider-Man freshman year, or not yet. I meant She-Hulk, not Miss Marvel.
She-Hulk, like he was in the trailer for She-Hulk. He showed up there at the end.
That's what I meant.
That was a mind-blowing moment for me.
Yeah, so we're getting Matt Murdock in several properties: She-Hulk, Echo, Spider-Man freshman year, and Daredevil. That's a lot. That's a lot of Matt Murdock, and good for the actor. I forgot his name.
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox, because he's going to be a part of all of those projects. So that's great.
And allegedly, we can expect to see Jessica Jones appear as well. Like, there's been talks about her showing up in Echo.
Interesting. I did not hear that. Interesting.
That was part of another. I believe that was. I can't remember where that came from. It was part of a Screen Rant or something like that.
Okay.
Rumors, like that's kind of the problem with all these announcements, is that there is a nonstop barrage of rumors going around right now, and it's really tough to confirm any of them, especially with Marvel. It's like, even if it was like Marvel's in a situation where even if somebody comes to them with something that's not true, it serves them way better to keep it ambiguous and not deny anything either, because then it just continues to fuel that. And at the same time, if it's something that's not true, they get to fueling that rumor mill, just makes it easier for them to deceive people later down the road. So it's even harder to get like proper information, which is also at the same time like why I've always sort of tried to avoid like that back end stuff. I'm looking more into it now than I used to. Again, the only thing that I'm wanting to stay away from is leaks. Like if I see a screenshot with like really grainy footage of something like that, like I'm gonna be upset. Like there's a lot here. Agatha, I could give a shit about, honestly. Like, she was great in WandaVision, but I didn't give a fuck.
We've talked about that. That could be the return of
Wanda. Yeah.
Ironheart. Speaking of Rumorville and just the internet in general, a lot of people
excited for Ironheart. Very excited.
Yes, but I've also seen a lot of people bitching about, like literally somebody I knew was like, oh, they're making a Black Panther film without Black Panther, and it's just going to be introduction for Ironheart. It's going to be a bait and switch. I don't believe they would do that to the brand. 2, I don't believe Ryan Coogler would come back for a bait and switch film. No. 3, I don't think Kevin Feige is that stupid, So while I think he dropped the ball and maybe didn't give as much oversight that he could have to Thor: Love and Thunder, I can't imagine them bringing out Wakanda Forever and dropping the ball in that film. That has I could see that. I could see like Phase 4 just being a mess because they were focused so much on Wakanda Forever, So I can't imagine it's going to be a bait and switch film.
Can you fucking imagine, like, of all of the films that could break people's spirit about the future of Marvel, it's if they dropped the ball that hard with Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I just don't see
Jesus fucking Christ.
And I don't see Ryan Coogler being a part of it if that was the case. So while Ironheart is clearly teased in the trailer, I do not believe it's a bait and switch film. I'm sure it'll set this up, and this is coming a year after that movie. Captain America: New World Order. Not going to lie.
Again, more excitement there too. Big one.
I agree, but that title reminds me of Serpent Society, and it kind of makes me wonder if it's a fake title next
they've
summer,
done that before.
They've done that before with Serpent Society. So like, I wouldn't be surprised. This thing, though, I'm kind of sad because General Ross isn't going to be a part of it, unless he filmed stuff way in advance.
Yeah.
They were clearly setting up his character to be a part of this, but unless they film stuff with him way in advance, I can't see him being a part of that, which is kind of sad.
Well, they also had a little bit more time to work with William Hurt, and like there may have been more of a discussion as to what to do with his character posthumously.
Maybe.
And so there could be a recast there. I don't know. Like that might have been like it could have been in his best interest. Is like, hey, I would prefer that you guys kept this going. Like not necessarily the discussions like with Chadwick Boseman, who had kept that information from so many people. Yeah, who knows?
But things like these, Guardians, Loki, Blade, Marvels. I wouldn't be surprised if we get trailers. Well, even Ant-Man. I wouldn't be surprised if we get trailers for any of these films, any of these sector of films right here at D23, because those are just around the corner. Blade is a year out, but that's, we haven't seen anything for that. So I'm excited for D23 because I felt like San Diego Comic-Con had some good stuff, but I felt like they were holding off for D23. Likewise, I felt DC was holding off for Fandom. So, we'll see that. But then Phase 6, they only announced 3 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 things that they currently have scheduled for Phase 6. He did say that they're not just blocks. Those are actual properties. They just weren't ready to announce them yet. But Fantastic Four coming after, starting Phase 6. But then I'm not going to lie. When I see that there's 2 Avengers films in the same year, I'm like, no.
So this is where I'm kind of leaning more towards the Young Avengers side of things. I feel like this might not actually be what we're expecting it to be. I feel like we're going to see, like, at the start of Phase 5 or at the end of Phase 4, we're going to see a new direction for how they're kind of going down things. Now, I feel like the Young Avengers are probably going to be tackling things concerning the Secret Wars, because that's well, first of all, that one's a little bit farther out, and they've got a bigger hill to climb in order to get up to that thing. Whereas the Kang Dynasty, Kang is going to be a much higher scale level villain. And so throwing a bunch of children at him doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense. We do know that Kang is in Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania as the main villain there. So and we've also seen him in Loki. He will probably be in Loki season 2. And so we're obviously going to get a lot more time with him. Whereas the Secret Wars is like, yes, we have the Skrulls. We're already there, but they're introducing the Secret Wars with Secret Invasion with a show. And so it feels like it's going to be kind of at smaller scale. And so I'm interested to see if Avengers Secret Wars is actually a film, or if that's going to be a show, and that this title is actually going to get amended to Young Avengers Secret Wars. And we're going to see Miss Marvel. We're going to see Ironheart. It would be cool to see Wiccan and Speed, which are Wanda's children. But we'll have to see kind of how that plays out, because they're a big part of the Young Avengers in the comics. We'll see the Young Avenger. This is going to drive me nuts. I'm not horribly familiar with them, but we saw his character in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's actually Isaiah's son, our grandson.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
He actually, like, his character is really interesting because he actually gets addicted to that super soldier serum,
interesting.
and is kind of battling through all of that while trying to be a hero at the same time. And that's gonna be big. Another thing that was interesting is that we really didn't see anything around Moon Knight. We didn't see anything talking about Eternals. I imagine that Eternals is probably one of these missing blocks here.
Possibly. We didn't see Armor Wars, which was previously announced. So maybe that's one of these blocks. We don't have anything official on when Spider-Man is coming back, which he is. We just know for certain Tom Holland is not voicing his character in freshman year.
And he also didn't do it in What If, so that's not terribly surprising.
A big thing.
What If is also going to be freshman year is also an animated feature, which is not considered part of the sacred timeline of things, as we know.
Well, and just like we don't see that holiday special for Guardians on this or on Phase 4, so that is that's not part of the sacred stuff either.
If you had to fill in these gaps, like let's take a stab at filling in what these gaps are going to be.
So much, buddy. I'm more interested in whether or not these are real, because I could easily see this Kang Dynasty being a fake out and Secret Wars even being a fake out because they're both very recognizable names. And
Secret Wars, I believe, more than the Kang Dynasty.
yeah,
The Kang Dynasty seems kind of like BS to me.
I know that's what Loki and other things are setting up, and he's going to be a big part of Quantumania.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I mean, it just seems weird that they're announcing it now. The other thing that's weird is look at this. Phase 5 starts in February of 2023, and then Phase 6 ends in November of 25. So we're doing 2 phases in 3 years? Is that a COVID thing? Or I mean, 2 phases in 3 years. It took what, 10 years for the first 3 phases? Granted, that was all movies, so maybe because they have so many shows in here.
Well, it was movies. They were introducing classic characters from the beginning. Like
Yeah.
they were starting from scratch with those first 3 phases. Like there was they had to build the
10
empire.
years.
Now that they've built it, they've gotten so many extra people, so much more funding, so many more people involved.
That's true.
The scale in which they're able to output this stuff is massively high. Like there's an entire division of Disney devoted specifically to this.
Yeah.
So
I imagine there's a Spider-Man film in here. I don't believe there's an X-Men film.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I believe X-Men will be post this. Not to mention, there's been a recent report that there's a contract thing that's holding up the X-Men. Did you see that?
No.
Let's see.
That wouldn't be in my purview of things that I've been looking at.
There's a recent rumor that's come out that says the reason we're not seeing X-Men in Phase 6 or any part of the Multiverse Saga is because the current X-Men cast for somehow have contracts going through 2025, meaning, they can't have other people playing those roles. I don't know how they achieve those contracts, but that was a rumor that came out of somebody's talking at San Diego Comic-Con saying contractual obligations was keeping them out. I don't know if that's the only reason why they're not out, but this ending in 2025 and the contracts ending in 2025 could be something. But I don't see them coming in until Phase 7. So
We got
I could
Jeff
see
Miller in here. I can't bring up comments because I'm
bad.
not signed in right now.
I'm
But
not
he's hoping
seeing
that the Kang that we see in the future would be more serious than the goofier one from Loki. He absolutely will be, because the goofier one from Loki's entire thing was trying to stop people from seeing the evil version of him.
But did you see Kang at SDCC? They brought him out, and he didn't. No, they didn't bring him out. Who did they bring out at SDCC? That everybody was like, "Why do you look so bad in that outfit?" It wasn't Kang. But it
the
was
Watcher. I know the guy who played the Watcher came out and did some talking.
It was somebody from the Ant-Man movie. It's the guy with like the thing around his face. I'll have to look it up.
Be Kang?
No, it wasn't Kang. It's the guy from it. He played in Peacemaker, and he's coming to the. He played the alien dude that like led the group in Peacemaker. You know what I'm talking about? Did you watch Peacemaker?
No, I've not watched Peacemaker.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm totally just like talking to you about a show you haven't seen. Well, he's coming to the SDC. Never mind. He's the High Evolutionary in Guardians 3. Never mind. He came out in his outfit, and people were like, "Dude, you look dumb." This is what he looked like. And people are like, I don't know about this. But granted, you got to remember that
looks like an emo fucking version of RoboCop with all of his armor stripped off.
But at the same time, this is in person, and nothing looks good in person compared to on screen, So, but this has nothing to do with what Jeffrey was talking about. Kang, there's different versions of Kang, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we see part of his goofy version again. But then I wouldn't be surprised if the Kang we see in Quantumania and the Kang we see in Loki, and then supposedly the Kang we see in Kang Dynasty are 3 different Kangs. You know, like they get worse and worse with film.
We're gonna see a lot of different versions of him,
Yeah.
a lot, and that's kind of the point of his character. He's very multiversal.
Jeffrey, I think it's the Marvel machine. They know what works and don't. Hopefully, they learn from Phase 4. Well, if they knew what works, they
wouldn't
Phase
have given
4
up
would have
Thor:
been.
Love and Thunder. Like, we wouldn't have fucking had that shit.
But then
unfortunately for their bottom line, that movie still worked.
But then again,
which blows.
Yeah, it worked for their bottom line. But at the same time, I think maybe you need some downtime. Maybe you need some disappointments for the better stuff to shine better. You know, like you need some turds for the amazing stuff to shine better. So,
we had Eternals already, and that sucked. We had Black Widow, and that sucked. Like,
I know.
Could have left my boy Thor alone.
Anyway, there's a lot to talk about.
Even Taika Waititi was talking shit about the movie. He was talking shit about the visual effects.
Yeah, he was. He was throwing his own VFX people under the bus, which was weird because there's a big uproar right now with VFX people and Marvel. I don't know how much you've been following that, but they
a little bit. Like
it's not. I mean,
there's gonna be some shit going like with all the movies that they've got and how heavily reliant they are on VFX. Like that's gonna be.
It's great for us to see these things, but I'm sure the VFX community is like, fuck you. You know, like we've been in crunch mode for years and this is what you get. You know, we're doing how many properties in the next 3 years? You know, I mean, when my mom doesn't understand it, she's always like, why are the credits so long? I mean, what you see in the credits of movies, when you see all those different VFX houses, those are just the credited people. There's plenty of people that are not on that list that worked as third parties to those FX houses, as contractors. Those aren't the only people that work on these films. So, yeah. I get it. Disney and Marvel are going hard with their properties, but you better freaking hire more people or pay them better because I can see... You know, you remember the writer's strike and how that, destroyed Hollywood for a bit? I could see the same thing happening with the VFX strike. And, that would destroy Marvel. I'll tell you that.
I mean, that'll fuck up this schedule an awful lot.
Yeah, well. Anything else from San Diego? Why don't we still have the spoiler talk on? Anything else from San Diego that caught your eye that you wanted to talk about?
Honestly, not really. I'm kind of wrapped up at this point, honestly. Like there's a lot, again, like there's a lot here to speculate on, but it's so early.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so early in any of this stuff. It's tough to really form anything that could be considered concrete, which is a good place to be. Like that, like don't get me wrong. Like that was a really good place to be. Like I said, I'm going to try and dip my toe into getting a little bit more information than I would normally do, but I don't want to dip into leak territory.
No one's expecting you to, man. I
mean,
I don't want to.
Specifically just for like the discussion side of things. Like there's some information that I would like to be able to like come into.
Mm-hmm.
I've reactivated my Marvel reading subscription, so I'm actually going to be dipping back into some comics just to kind of like refresh my brain, especially around Kang. There's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. There's a lot to kind of catch up on. There's a lot coming henceforth, and I don't really know how to handle it all. So,
well, and people asking, or if anybody's watching this, saying, "Why aren't you covering all the other stuff that happened at San Diego Comic-Con?" You already did. You posted a trailer reactions video that they can find. You covered.
Yes. So I did
Wakanda Forever. What else did you cover?
I did Wakanda Forever. I watched the Groot trailer. I watched the
you watched the She-Hulk trailer.
I watched She-Hulk. I watched Black Adam's reveal. I watched Shazam 2.
Shazam, which looks interesting. Or more of the same. Could be good. Could be. Depends on how you feel about the first one. You watched Black Adam. And you watched Lord of the Rings too, didn't you?
I watched Lord of the Rings. And
the only one you didn't watch which is interesting. You didn't watch the first trailer that came out of San Diego Comic-Con, which was the Dungeons and Dragons film. Have you seen that?
I did watch that one. That was actually that was the first trailer that I watched when I was trying to make my full camera setup work.
Oh, and it didn't work out.
Like halfway through, like when I was going back to look through that footage, because when I do my trailer reactions, I actually cut them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back through, my audio came out fine, and my screen capture came out fine. But again, my camera crapped out on me. And
yeah, go watch that, Jeffrey. I'm not involved in any of these because I don't have the patience or the resistance that Seth has. So I watch them seconds after they come out. But give me your thoughts on this right quick, and then we'll wrap up the show. What did you think of it?
So the trailer looked good. I mean, like I didn't release any of the footage that came out because, like, I didn't do it on my live because I had already seen the trailer, so I didn't want to like I didn't want to like fake a reaction to it or anything like that.
Thank you.
It honestly, it didn't like the thing that was really nice about it is that it didn't remind me of the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out like quite a few years ago, like several years ago. It had Marlon or Damon Wayans in it or something like that. I can't remember which.
Yeah, it had Damon Wayans. It had the kid that played Wesley Crusher.
Yeah, and it was shit.
Had Jeremy Irons in it.
Yeah, and it was shit. This one seems like it's gonna be more just for fun. Like they're not trying to make it some like massive scale movie or anything like that. Like they got a bunch of thieves together. They're going like there's so many routes that they could go with the Dungeons and Dragons movie. What I'm hoping to see here is that what we're not seeing in this trailer here is that it's actually like a group of friends who are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and this is their representations of their characters, and they're just like we're seeing their story as it plays out throughout the game.
Like a Jumanji take, yeah,
something like that.
I could see that.
Like, well, I mean, not necessarily a Jumanji take, but like this is them telling the story to everybody while like all the real world implications.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But at the same time, it also looks like it's just I feel like when I watched the trailer, it was like, this could be called something completely different, not even be Dungeons and Dragons at all, and just be like a generic fantasy movie. And it wouldn't get nearly the attention that it would if it wasn't attached to the Dungeons and Dragons name.
But at the same time, nobody cares about Dungeons and Dragons other than the Dungeons and Dragons people, because the three attempts that they've I know. I don't know. I'm not discounting that at all. I'm not. I truly am not. I'm just saying that the three previous attempts, because there's been three. There was the 2000 movie that you referenced with Jeremy Irons. There was the 2005 movie called Wrath of the Dragon God. And then there was the 2012 movie called The Book of Vile Darkness. All of those did not perform well at all. This has the most recognizable cast, including her, which I'm most excited about because I didn't recognize her. This is the girl from the It movies.
I didn't see those because I don't watch horror movies.
Well, she was also in a show called I Am Not Okay With This, which was fucking fantastic, and I was sad when it got canceled. Her name's Sophia Lillis. She's fantastic. But this gave me critical role.
When I saw Chris Pine was at the forefront of this thing, and you've got Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez in here. First of all, I hadn't seen Michelle Rodriguez in anything other than Fast and Furious in a long time.
I know.
So that was pretty cool to see. I like that they're not a group of like super crazy heroes. I like that Chris Pine is
Jurassic World. You've got the guy from Bridgerton. It's got a good cast.
I'm not stoked at all that the dude from Jurassic World is in there because his character is the most fucking annoying person on the planet in that movie.
But maybe in a different environment,
he'll in a different environment. It was like this seems like it's going to aim more towards action comedy than action.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, Chris Pine is the Bard. Like he's the Bard character in this movie, which is great.
This has Critical Role vibes, very much. And for those of you who don't know, Critical Role is it's not Dungeons and Dragons, but it's similar vibe. And now they've had the Amazon show that's off of them, and they bring a lot more comedy to this age-old type of team up stuff. And so I think taking the comedy route with Dungeons and Dragons, well, it's not all comedy. It looks like it's got good graphics and fantasy stuff. The comedy route separates
like
it
they've
from like
clearly
Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and stuff.
they clearly have a much bigger budget than what like another Dungeons and Dragons movie would have been like. Like the other
Sure.
ones seem like B movies at
Sure.
best B movies.
Yeah.
This
That's a
actually
cool
looks
thing.
like it. This actually looks like it's got a movie money.
Sure.
Um,
And cast an A movie cast. I think.
yeah.
You could still screw it up with a good cast and a lot of money. You could still screw it up, but this looks fun.
Yeah.
So
like it looks like fun is more what they're going for, and like when a movie like Dungeons and Dragons that knows what it is like knows that it's like ridiculous fantasy, like that's important, and so like I'll see this one.
Yeah, Jeffrey Miller didn't recognize her either. She's absolutely, I don't know why longer hair is so weird on her, but we've seen her like this for like the last oh gosh darn it, I can't pull it up. For like the last couple years we've seen her with short hair in all of her roles. Short hair and covered in blood. And so to see her with long hair is a little different, but I'm glad that she's getting, because she's a fantastic actress. I really did like her in It, and I liked her in some of the other stuff she's done. So I think this could be really fun. And they dropped it right at the beginning of SDCC, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. Didn't know it was coming at all. I had no idea that this movie was in production, and it looks fun. So, yeah.
I'm in I'm in a weird state. Like I don't really know what to hope for. I'm trying to pop into Twitter here just to see if there's been any other like blow up news or anything like that. Because again, we got a lot of stuff. Bullet Train. That's something that I'm going to go see. That movie looks like it's going to be a good time.
Oh, there was one other thing that
might be a cool thing for us to do at the end of these shows. Is just be like, hey, what are you going to go see next? Bullet Train is something that I'm going to go see this weekend.
That I'm not incredibly excited for that. You'll have to tell me how it is. There was one other thing.
It looks dumb and fun. I was just going to go check it out.
There was one other thing that Kevin Feige dropped that a lot of people have been passing around that we didn't cover on this show. And it was the two Frasier films that are coming out, Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs. I don't know who made this, but I keep on seeing it all over the internet. It's the funniest thing. I don't know why. It must be some big Frasier fan, but I keep on seeing this pop up in my feed for one reason or another. And so I had to share that with you. I'm not sure if you're a big Frasier fan, but I love me some Frasier.
Like Ezra Miller is trending right now, mainly because people are pissed that his movie hasn't been canceled with everything that he's been doing. But Batgirl is.
They put way more money into his film than Batgirl. Let's be honest.
It's weird.
We'll find out on Thursday.
It's also boring.
We'll have a lot to talk about at the beginning of next week for what happens on Thursday. So hopefully, maybe not, but probably.
Looks like people are trying to get a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. That's
been happening for a long time.
I don't see nearly as many people jumping on top of that, but we'll see what happens.
It was thriving when the Snyder Cut came out, but it's not happening.
No, dude, I'd be interested to see extended cuts of a lot of films, like a lot, especially in the streaming era. It's like, yeah, like let's. Like if you want to create some exclusives for people to log into all these fucking streaming services, it's like give us some exclusives. Yeah, that'd be great.
I would love an AR cut of Suicide Squad because they've shown a lot of clips or like screen grabs of stuff that was not in the film. Not to mention, why the fuck would you hire David Ayer to make a movie and then fuck it up by hiring some millennial trailer cut company to re-edit the film? That makes no sense to me at all. David Ayer, you hired him for a reason. He makes a certain type of film, and then you hire a completely different company to cut the film to a more TikTok-y vibe of a film. I hated it. I felt so bad for David Ayer. That doesn't mean that his version was necessarily a good film, but I'd love to see it. But if this new Warner Brothers isn't even interested in throwing a Batgirl movie that's 90% finished onto their streaming property, then there's no way in hell we're gonna get extended cuts of previous films. I feel like they're just done, and they're trying to wipe the floor and start over instead of, I mean, it's got similar vibes of when Disney bought Lucasfilm. I think a lot of people were like, they're gonna bring, they're gonna bring the original Star Wars back, the special edition Star Wars, and that's never happened.
Nope.
They
I would love it to, but thankfully I've got them.
I know.
Like,
and
they're hanging
so
out.
do
They're
I.
hanging out there up on my shelf right now. I've got those VHS tapes there now.
Yep, so do I. But that's never happened. They wiped the floor with the extended universe and started their own thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Discovery tries to do that as well. And maybe that's the only reason why they haven't scrapped the Flash film, because it sounded like that's what that was going to do. So who knows? We'll see. But 90% done. That still baffles me. I want to see what I wonder if they're going to officially address that on Thursday and talk about that, because that is bizarre. That's so bizarre to me. It's just weird. It's just weird. But anyway, we've talked a lot.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that like all these franchises are gonna get their shit together. Like I know Marvel will. Like they get too much money behind them not to. I'm hoping the best for DC. I'm cautiously optimistic for Star Wars, but there's still some optimism there. And I'm really excited to see what else we've got coming out of SDCC. Because like I said, they got a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to see yet. And that's kind of where I have to leave it. We'll just sort of we're in the waiting game. Like we're in the middle waters of phase 4 for Marvel, and really excited about Andor. We'll jump on that pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be on that one on
I'm
time.
sad we got to wait till August for that, but that's probably
we're in August.
No, I'm sad we got to wait till September. It's supposed to come out this month.
Yeah.
But yeah. She-Hulk is coming out this month, correct?
Yeah, we only got a couple weeks on that one, so
maybe they were giving room for She-Hulk instead of having them on top of each other.
Well, She-Hulk's first episode will release August 17th.
Okay.
So that
concludes on October 12th. So I guess they will be overlapping to some degree. So interesting.
Well, that gives you 5 days to beat Spider-Man. So you better pre-order that shit.
That's true. I've been logging on to Steam in the background, so yeah, I'm gonna do it.
There you go. August 12th is Spider-Man's release, so be ready for that.
Yeah, I will be. I will be. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thanks.
It'll be a midnight
Jeffrey.
Release again. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeffrey, for popping in. Always good to hear from you. And talk us out, Seth. You do the outros better than me.
If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. Be honest, we can take it. Hit us up in those comments below. Let us know what you guys thought of SDCC. Let us know what you guys are most anticipated for. That's what I want to know. Don't be afraid to hit us up in those comments on all the trailer reactions that have been coming out, or hit us up on social media. Like, just ask us shit, and we'll dive into it. If you want us to talk about it on the show, let us know. Let us know in those comments. Let us know on social media, however you want to hit us up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.